Okay, so did you guys learn a Maimer, a Hasidic discourse of the Rebbe entitled Lehovin Inyan Techias HaMeisim, to understand the theme, the concept, the topic of the resurrection? You remember that?
I think I did in seminary, but
You did it?
yeah, I think was it like asking like who will come back to Chaz Mason? But there's two opinions in Sanhedrin.
No,
No.
that's a different one.
Okay.
No, that's a different one. But among the many things in the Geul, in the redemption, coming speedily, super speedily nowadays with Mashiach. You guys, you want any cake, anything? No, right? Nobody wants. If you have plates, this. If you want this. All right. So we know how are the things going to be. As soon as Mashiach comes right now, what's the first thing that is going to happen?
Just like a revelation, like Mashiach's gonna.
What are all the things before we go into the different steps? What things are going to happen when Mashiach comes? The final redemption, the long-awaited redemption. What's going to happen?
We'll be super smart.
Huh?
He'll become super intelligent.
We become super intelligent, okay?
Super
That's
wealthy.
true. Very wealthy, yes.
What else?
More intelligent than ever, and more wealthy than ever also. And what else?
Of course.
Huh?
Of course, all the Jews will gather from all over the world.
We'll gather. Kibbutz Kuliyos. We're going to gather all the Jews. We're going to go back to our Holy Land and Jerusalem, correct? Okay. What's not? What else?
The basic dish.
The temple. Yes, very good. Until now we had the first and the second, and now Moshiach is going to reveal the third one, right? Okay. And what else? Any other thing?
Like unity of Hashem.
Yediyas Hashem?
Yeah, like the unity or like the knowledge of Hashem. Like everyone, like Hashem will be known, and we're gonna like.
That's
study
right.
Torah.
That's right. Yes, correct. And the ultimate thing, and after all of that, what you said, Tchias HaMeisim. Okay, the resurrection. The resurrection of all the Jews in the history is going to take place. That's going to be the greatest miracle ever in the history, by far, without comparison. And when we say by far, we need to point out what are the greatest miracles that we experience in history.
Splitting the Red Sea.
Right? Correct? So the splitting of the Red Sea, the Sea of Reeds, it's something that is beyond the wildest imagination. That a whole nation should cross the sea, and the sea splits into 12 different channels, right? And there were plenty of miracles within that. It was not only that miracle, but trees with fruits ready to eat. They used to grow while we were crossing the sea, right? And also our worst enemies, the Egyptians, also they died over there in the crossing part of the, and we became extremely wealthy also crossing the sea, and other things too. But if we try to understand the caliber, the greatness of that type of miracle that happened once in history, this concept of resurrection is going to be much, much greater than that. And not only that, but even much greater than all the miracles that are going to take place when Mashiach comes. So until now, the greatest miracles is the splitting of the sea, when we came out from Egypt. When Mashiach comes, the first thing that is going to happen is the Beis Hamikdash, the temple, is going to come down from heaven, right? And not everyone is going to be able to see it. So imagine the greatest architectural structure in the history coming down from heaven, and the whole world is going to see it. As if that wouldn't be great enough, then all the Jews were going to go jump into clouds, and the clouds are going to take us to Israel, right? And beyond all of these miracles, it comes beyond and after all these miracles, it comes Techias HaMesim, the resurrection. So that's a little bit, just a tiny bit to give us a tiny idea, a small idea, how could it be so much greater if we think the greatness of all these miracles that we spoke about and other ones that are going to happen. How could it be that the resurrection? How could it be that it is at length is going to happen, that people they're going to come back to life exactly? Nobody is going to be able to make even a mistake. God is going to make it crystal clear that is not exactly, it's for real. Because people, they might think, but it's going to be, how could it be that? So God is going to make it clear that this same person that passed away, either now, before, a year ago, 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, whatever it is, all the relatives and all the people that they met this person, they are going to be able to testify this is the same person, right? And so it's going to be, to say shocking is not enough to say. It's an understatement to call it shocking. You understand that all the people, imagine if you see all the people, our grandparents and our people that, and the famous personalities also, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, everybody is going to come back to life and all that. Okay. But regarding the Techias HaMesim, we say, Kol Yisrael yesh lemavo. We say we're learning Pirkei Avos in Shabbos, the ethic of our fathers, right? And we say the Mishnah, Kol Yisrael yesh lemavo. Every Jew has a portion in the world to come. Yes? And how does it continue? How does it go? Li'olam. Anybody knows? Here we have the translation. All the children of Israel, every Jew, have a portion in the world to come. As it says in the prophet Isaiah, regarding the redemption of the Jewish nation, it says, your people, God, are all righteous, are all tzaddikim, and they will all inherit the land of Israel forever. They will never be exiled from it again, meaning everyone will recognize that they are the branch of my planting, says God. This is a verse from Isaiah. And the work of my hands, says God, in which I, God, take pride. Yeah? Okay, so when we say, I believe we spoke this before, when we say the word kolis in Hebrew is kolis, every Jew has a portion in the world to come. So, what is the world to come?
There's like two opinions, no?
What?
There's like two opinions, no? Like one after you pass away, someone passes away, sorry.
Yep.
And the other one is like Techias HaMesim time, like, right? The later stages.
Right, precisely. So there are two opinions, as you don't always say the right thing. Baruch Hashem. It says there are two opinions what does it mean the world to come. The world to come means the dimension, the world that the souls, they go after they depart from this physical earth. After they die, so people, they go to the world to come. That's called the world to come, right? And that could be one of the meaning when it says in here in the Mishnah, all the children of Israel have a portion in the world to come. Or it could mean the world to come means, it could be when Mashiach comes. That's the world to come also, because it's coming. It's the word that's not right now. It's the word to come. It's going to come afterwards, right? So the question is, first of all, how do we know which meaning is, which world to come is talking about in here? And how do we know that? Which one is what are we talking here? So it's basically talking.
Can't it do both?
No, we cannot.
Why not?
Why not? Because it says in here that all the Kol Israel, all the Jews will have a portion in the world to come. And all the Jews means that when some souls they go up above after they pass away in this world, they don't make it. There are some people, some souls that they are more than 1,000 years, I don't know exactly how long, but they are for 1,000 years or more up there in a certain after they pass away and they don't make it over there. As opposed to when Mashiach will come, the time of resurrection, according to all opinions, every single Jew is going to be there. The verse says, the other verse in there says, no Jew will be left behind, and that includes every single Jew in the whole world, and even those Jews, every single Jew in the history. The Jewish nation is going to be complete like never before. And that means that every single Jew is going to come back to life when Mashiach comes, without exception. And the Medrash brings that Mashiach made a covenant with God himself, and he said, I accept to suffer and accept all the things that is going to happen to me. Mashiach is going to suffer and so on at the end of days, with the condition that all the Jews, they are going to make it there, they'll be there when I come. And Mashiach starts giving a whole list, all the souls that even those Jews, there are certain souls that, for example, a woman is pregnant, and God forbid, she never delivers the baby, right? She loses the baby, God forbid. So Mashiach says those Jews also have to be there. They have to come back to life. And all the Jews, it's a long list, we're not going to go into every single little, but even the Mashiach says to God, even those Jews, there are certain souls that God thought about creating them. And afterwards, he had second thought, and he said, no, I'm not going to create these souls. So Mashiach tells to God, even those souls that you thought about creating them, but you never created them, I want them also to be there. And God agrees. God says, okay, deal, you have a deal. So there are going to be Jews that they were never before. They were never before in here, and they were never before even in the spiritual worlds, okay? And that's why we have to say that the pshat, the meaning in here is, all the Jews are going to have their portion in the world to come. That has to be talking, it would be talking only about the word of resurrection, when Mashiach comes, right? Now, we know that both worlds to come, both of them are a reward. When people have passed away, in here in this world, this physical world, is the time of working. God put us in here to refine ourselves and to refine the world and the universe at large. Every single thing that we go through, even if we understand or we don't understand, everything is a refinement process. In order that we should refine until the world and the universe and ourselves should become perfect. Because God is perfect and He created a perfect world with perfect entities. In our days, in order to get to that perfection, we have to refine it. And that's the whole reason why we are here for. But after we leave this world, and that's the pshat of the world to come, both meanings, both worlds to come, that means that it has to do with the reward. We stop working and we get the reward. And there is a difference between the reward that we get in the Olam Haba, in the world to come, after people they pass away on earth here and they go over there, and the world to come when Mashiach will come in their redemption. What is the difference? Did you hear the difference? What's the difference between the world to come up there where the souls they go over there, or when Mashiach will come? What's the difference in reward, or what's the difference?
The world to come, like Mashiach seems like more of the reward. Mashiach. So really, Mashiach was the reward.
But a lot of people don't think like that though.
I think they're more of a
There are certain opinions that the only reason why we're here is to merit the coming of the redemption, and that's when we're going to get the reward.
So it's like Olam Haba, but like up there, is that like physical? Or is it just like spiritual or like getting closer to Hashem?
When Mashiach comes, or the up above, or the
Up above.
up,
Are you able to use physicality up above?
the what?
Are you able to have physicality up above?
Nope.
So like maybe that's the difference. Like down here, we're gonna be super rich. Like that's a reward. Versus if you're just going to Olam Haba after you pass away.
Right.
You probably just
Correct. So, up above, there are only souls and angels. There are no physical bodies, right? And that's why the reward over there up above is mainly because of what type of work that we're doing. A reward means that after you work, you get a salary, you get rewarded, right? So after what type of job that we did in this world, we get rewarded up. Let's call it up above. It's called Gan Eden, paradise. Paradise also has another meaning, that is where Adam and Eve, they were there, right? But let's call this Gan Eden paradise, the Garden of Eden. That's where let's call it the Olam Haba, the world to come, because it's also called Gan Eden, paradise. So the paradise up above over there is the reward of what? The reward of learning Torah. When all the Jews, we come here, among many other things, among all the mitzvahs that we keep, all the commandments from God that we keep, is the learning of the Torah, right? And up above the Gan Eden paradise, after people they pass away, they get rewarded for all the learning of the Torah that we do. And as opposed to when Mashiach will come, and that's why Gan Eden up above, the reward is spiritual, because Torah is something spiritual. When we learn something, it's something spiritual. As opposed to, if we compare to the Olam Haba, to the world of resurrection, or when Mashiach will come, that's a reward not mainly from learning Torah, but mainly for keeping mitzvahs. Are mitzvahs spiritual or physical, material?
More
material.
Material. The tefillin are made with the leather of a cow. The kiddush, you have to drink wine, physical wine. We have to put it in our mouths and so on. So that's why we're going to get a reward when Mashiach comes. It's going to be because of physical things. Now, in that reward, which one is greater? The one of Gan Eden, where there are only souls, or the one when Mashiach will come? Mashiach will come, right? Why? Isn't the fact of learning Torah, isn't Torah greater than keeping mitzvahs?
but like if
It's a debate, whatever. It's not. We cannot make a verdict, psak din, but.
but then this one is like more of like I feel like a
But the
combination.
Mashiach is like kind of like the purpose, because it uses the physical and the spiritual, versus Torah is like more spiritual.
Right.
That's why it's greater.
Makes sense.
Okay.
But if something's, let's say, lower, that means it comes like from a higher source, no?
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. So Torah comes, like Ilana said, comes from, let's call it, the mind of God. God is, of course, God is much, much higher than mind and everything else we could relate to. But God comes down a certain level that is similar to the mind of someone. And the mind means the Torah. Torah are concepts, right? And the Torah is basically the chokhmah, the wisdom of God Himself. As opposed to mitzvahs are the will of God. In a person, which one is higher, which one is greater? The will of a person or the mind of a person? The will. And the will of the God are the same thing in God. The will of God are the mitzvahs, the commandments. And that's why when Mashiach will come, is going to be a much, much greater reward, because we're talking about not only the mind of God, but even much, much higher the will of God. the fact that every single Jew kept the mitzvahs in this world, a Jew connects with the will of God, a higher level than the mind. Okay? Now, we have a question. The question is a famous question. I don't know if you heard it or not. I don't know how famous in Hasidus is. There are Siches. My mother talk about this question. So when Mashiach comes, the resurrection is going to be the ultimate reward because we did mitzvahs, right? As opposed to when we go up above in Gan Eden, it's a tremendous reward, but not as great as when Mashiach will come. It's a reward of Torah, right? How come when Mashiach will come, everybody's going to be able to make it, but up above, usually, you know the term VIP? VIP is the very exclusive place, club, resort, whatever it is, right? Which one is more exclusive, the Gan Eden or when Mashiach will come? Huh?
Gan Eden.
Up above is more exclusive.
Yeah.
Why? If we say that the ultimate reward, a much, much greater reward, we're connecting with the will of God, that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. So much more VIP, much more exclusive.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
It
thought you
should
meant,
be.
wait, because really, like, yeah, Mashiach's greater, but Gan Eden is more exclusive in a sense because not everyone gets to go to Gan Eden.
Oh, so that's
Versus Mashiach is greater, but it's for everyone.
so that's the question. If usually
Oh.
a place, a cheap place, something that is not VIP, anybody could come. It's not so exclusive, right? Anybody could make it there. A VIP place, very, very exclusive, is only not everybody could make it. So how could it be? If Gan Eden, up above where the souls are only, not everybody could make it. That seems to be at first glance like it's a VIP place. But it's not. At the same time, it's not the ultimate reward. And when Mashiach comes, it's going to be the ultimate reward, but everybody could make it. It's not so VIP. How could it be? That's the question. Right? And the answer is that. Any guess? The answer is that what's the difference between one of the many, it's not only one, but one of the differences between learning Torah and keeping mitzvahs. By learning Torah, there are different levels. Not everyone is the same when we learn Torah. You have the learning Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and you have the learning Torah of someone that, he doesn't have such a great mind, like even much, much lower than him. So there are many, many, many categories in learning Torah. And within Torah itself, there are many levels within the Torah itself. There is a hidden part of the Torah, there's a revealed part of the Torah, and so on. Some people, they cannot learn certain parts of the Torah, right? As opposed to mitzvahs, mitzvahs are equal for every single Jew. The exact same tefillin that Moshe Rabbeinu used to put every day, those are the same exact tefillin that every single Jewish man puts right now and put through the whole history. Did you know? You've been in Israel? No.
Not yet.
You were in Israel, right? You went to Metzada mountain. You have to take the story 2,000 years ago that people, they committed suicide. You heard the story? You know.
I heard the story, I didn't go there.
Okay, whatever. We'll tell the story afterwards. But the thing is that they did archaeological research over there, and they found, among other things, a pair of tefillin. And this is over 2,000 years ago. And they opened a pair of tefillin. And the tefillin, they were the exact same tefillin that we put in our days.
But what about Mehudar Mitzvah?
The what?
Mehudar Mitzvah?
Mehudar?
Yeah. Like with Willow, you can do, you're still doing the same thing, even if you have like a prettier...
It's a good question you're asking. A mitzvah, you keep the mitzvah. Shulchan Aruch, the will of God. We said before that mitzvahs are the will of God. The will of God we keep even if you don't have any Hilul mitzvah at all. Even if you have the worst of the worst feeling, God forbid, nobody should get those, and the worst lulav, as long as it's kosher, as long as it keeps with all the deals of the Jewish law, you keep the mitzvah. You connected with the will of God. Something even higher than the mind of God, than the wisdom of God. Right? Torah, on the other hand, if a person does not understand the Torah, there are different ways of learning. Chumash, Torah, Shebechsav, you don't have to understand, you have to be able to read it. Torah Shabbat, you have to understand. But most of the Torah, let's say, is the oral Torah, the Mishnayos, the Gemara, Kabbalah, Hasidus, everything. In order to fulfill the mitzvah, you have to understand what you're doing. If you don't understand, you don't do it. It's not called learning Torah, right? That's the difference. So that's the difference also. Based on this difference between the mitzvahs, that's the difference between the reward in Gan Eden up above where the souls are and the reward we're going to get when Mashiach comes. Because the souls up above is the reward of Torah, and since in Torah there are different categories, different levels, so that's why not everybody could make it over there. And even not only that, but there are differences in levels in Gan Eden. There is Gan Eden Ha'elin, Gan Eden Ha'tachton, there is a lower Garden of Eden, there is a higher Garden of Eden, this is in general. You know that Gan Eden is the world of Bria, the world of creation. There is the world of formation, the world of Yetzirah, and the world of... So Gan Eden Ha'elin, the higher Garden of Eden, is the world of creation, the world of Bria, dimension of Bria. The lower Gan Eden, the lower Garden of Eden, is the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. Yeah? And this is in general, what explains in Hasidus and many places in Kabbalah also, but the truth of the matter is, Hasidus also explains that these are not the only two levels, dimensions that there is. There are many, many, many different levels in Gan Eden within itself. And that depends on how much Torah the person learns. Because there are many, many different, and how much and what type of Torah person learns. Let's say a person, God made him not so smart. Or God, let's say for example, didn't give him the ability, the capacity of learning. Let's say he was smart, but God put him in a certain situation. We were persecuted for most of the history, and plenty of times we didn't have enough time, we didn't have the ability to learn. But let's say that person, he had self-sacrifice. He only was able to learn very tiny amount, quantity and quality of Torah, but he gave his life. So that person is able to reach a very, very high level in Gan Eden, as much as someone that will learn the whole Torah and so on. So there are many, many different levels in Gan Eden, okay? Alrighty. As opposed to what we said before, when Mashiach comes, every single Jew is going to make it, because every single Jew, doesn't matter what, kept Torah. Even, it says, a famous statement, that even the lowest of the Jews, the sinners of the Jews, are full of mitzvahs, just like a pomegranate is full of seeds, right? So there is no such a thing that the Jew should come into this world and shouldn't keep mitzvahs. One of the interesting understanding of the Rebbe regarding this thing that says that even the sinners of the Jews, within the Jews, they are full of mitzvahs. You know what that explains? That explains that a mitzvah, because it's the will of God, God is infinite, and therefore every mitzvah that we keep, it fills up the whole Jew. That really means that it's full. Every Jew is full of mitzvahs. It doesn't mean that the Jew has to keep all the mitzvahs. He's full of mitzvahs in quantity. It could be only one mitzvah. In the fact that the truth of the matter is that every single Jew keeps and kept many, many mitzvahs. But every single mitzvah fills up the whole entity of the Jew until infinite. Because it's infinite. It's not just it fills up a little bit. That's a good thing. Okay. So, but if we keep going in the mission, we say every Shabbos, when we learn Pirkei Avos, it says all the Jews have a portion in the world to come, when Mashiach will come. As it says the verse in Isaiah, that God, your people are all tzaddikim, and they will inherit the land of Israel forever. Right? They are, God says, they are the branch of my planting and the work of my hands. Now, there are two levels in here. When it says your people are all righteous, they're all tzaddikim, v'amech kulam tzaddikim, and they will inherit the land forever, that's referring to the fulfillment of mitzvahs. Why? You have over there an iPad? No,
No, it's my laptop. That's touchscreen.
it's a very fancy laptop.
Yeah, and then I just got a pen.
Which one is HP?
Yeah.
No,
Dell.
Dell.
This is.
Dell?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
Dell?
It's yeah.
XPS 13? XPS 13?
I think it's okay.
It's like your
Inspiron.
Inspiron
7200.
And it's good. You write like a paper, like a regular paper. Yeah.
It's good. I think just the pen is a little annoying.
Uh-huh.
The laptop's good.
Okay. They gave me already. I sent it to fix an iPhone, so I'm moving to the other platform, to Apple, to the iCloud. Okay, so what's my call? So we're saying that in here, on one hand it says V'amechul tzadikim, all the Jews we have a portion of the word to come, and your nation gather all tzaddikim that are righteous. When it says the word tzaddikim, on one hand, the word tzaddik, righteous, is the famous explanation of the Tanya. Now, the tzaddik is someone that is holding at a very, very high, lofty spiritual level, and so spiritual, so lofty that he cannot even think something that is not what God wants, right? That's a tzaddik. He cannot think even, he cannot say, he cannot do anything that God doesn't want him to do. That's a tzaddik. That's basic, that's what Tanya says, right? But there are other explanations of a tzaddik. And all the mitzvahs are called by the name tzedakah. Tzedakah is usually translated as charity, but really it comes from the word tzedek, justice. And therefore, every single Jew, since all the mitzvahs are called, they carry the name tzedakah, it comes with justice. So therefore, every single Jew, since every single Jew, there is no such a thing that a Jew should not keep mitzvahs, every single Jew is also called a tzaddik. Because every mitzvah, every single Jew keep mitzvahs, even a few in quantity and quality, but therefore it's called a tzaddik also. In another interpretation, there are, Shivim Panim LaTorah, there are 17 interpretations for the title. And the truth is, we could connect, if we go a little bit deeper, the two explanations. The fact that every single Jew is called a tzaddik, even if he still yet does not think, talk, and do everything that God wants, that doesn't mean that he is a tzaddik. There is something a tzaddik in potential or in actuality. Potentially, every single Jew is a tzaddik that he cannot talk, think, or do what God wants. In actuality, every single Jew didn't reach that level yet. But when Mashiach will come, is not going to be such a thing as a Jew not being a full tzaddik. The definition of the Tanya. That means that every single Jew, in our days, every single Jew is a tzaddik, according to one explanation, because we keep mitzvahs. From the word tzedek, right? Righteousness, or so we are, in certain words, although we are not, according to the second explanation of the Tanya, that we didn't reach that level, but we know why we are able to keep every mitzvah, because we have the level of a tzaddik inside ourselves. And the only thing that is going to happen when Mashiach comes, when Mashiach, the redemption comes, it's going to be revealed that aspect that we have. And every single Jew is going to reach the level of a tzaddik. Okay. Now, so in here it's talking about that it says, tzadikim, your nation gathered all tzadikim that are righteous because they keep mitzvahs, right? So this is basically a reward is in here, that every single Jew has a portion in the world to come, and your nation are all tzadikim. Why? Because they keep mitzvahs, right? In other words, it seems to be saying that why every single Jew is going to have the merit, is going to be able to make it when Mashiach comes? Because we all keep mitzvahs, like we said before, right? if we keep reading a little bit further, it seems to be saying something different. It says, the Jews will, your people are all righteous, all tzaddikim, they will inherit the land forever. God says, they are the branch of my planting and the work of my hands that I take pride. Now, the Jews, if we are the branch of his planting and the work of his hands, that has something to do with the mitzvahs. Let's say, it's impossible. Let's say that we find a Jew that doesn't have any mitzvahs. Can God call the Jew the branch of my planting and the work of my hands to take pride? Why not? If it's the work of my, as it says, it's a branch of my planting and the work of my hands. It doesn't say anything that he has to do mitzvahs. He's not called a tzaddik, he's not anything. He doesn't keep any mitzvahs. There is no such a thing. But let's say, if there would be such a thing of a Jew not keeping one mitzvah, we still are the branch of my planting, of God's planting, and the work of God's hands. Nothing to do with mitzvahs. Yes? So how do we connect the two parts of the mission? On one hand, he's talking about when Mashiach will come, every single Jew we explain at length is going to make it, because every single Jew keeps mitzvahs and so on. And it says we're all righteous. Every single Jew is called a tzaddik because we keep mitzvahs, and that's why we're going to make it. But afterwards it says that even without mitzvahs, we are called the work of God's hands. We're called the work of God's hands. God made us. The fact that God made us, nothing to do with keeping mitzvahs. And we're going to start in the whole debate. What's greater, Torah and mitzvahs or the Jews? Which one is greater?
The Jew.
The Jew.
Why?
Because without the Jew, you can't do Torah mitzvahs. Like, that's the whole point. Like, the Jew is meant to do that. So Torah mitzvahs have no purpose without the Jew.
And without Torah, oh, ברוך הבא.
ברוך הנמצא, אבא שלום.
אתה חלבי או אתה בשרי? בשרי.
אני פרווה.
פרווה, אתה רוצה לאכול עוגה פה?
לא, בסדר, שנייה.
אוקיי.
כלום.
אוקיי.
רוצה לשטוף ידיים.
All right. So, so which one is greater? We say on one, but there is a whole debate. It's not so simple to say which one is greater, Torah and mitzvahs. But we just said before, no, it's not Torah and mitzvahs. Sorry, between Torah and mitzvahs and a Jew, right? According, so you say that the Jews are greater than Judaism. And in here, we're going to learn how there are different stages. Here the mission is talking about, the verse in Yeshayahu and the mission is talking about two stages when Mashiach will come. One stage is in which we're going to get a reward from doing the mitzvahs. And all Jews were going to have that merit, that zechut, right? But after that, and because of that, we're going to reach a second and a much higher level that is going to be revealed the essence of every Jew that is higher than the mitzvahs. And that's why in order, first it says, all the Jews, we have a portion, they have a portion of the world to come. Your people, your nation, God, are all tzaddik and are all righteous. They will inherit the land forever. And after that, it says that the Jews are the branch of God's planting and the work of His hands. And He takes pride because it's in order. It first comes to mitzvahs, yeah. So what?
Can you call the reward we get based on essence of reward though?
Repeat, say it again.
Can you call a reward based on essence or like something you don't work for a reward? Like, I don't know, how's it a reward then?
It's higher than reward, correct.
Oh, okay.
There is something of a reward, and there is something that is higher than reward. When you when you reveal the essence of who you have, of who you are, that is even higher than what you did. You could work a lot, But not necessarily, even if you work a lot, and you achieve a great things, not necessarily that all what you achieve is the essence of whom you are. It could be, yes, it could be that you're expressing your essence. But it could be that there is something much deeper and greater inside you that you are not able to express in your achievements. And that's exactly what's going to happen. First is going to be the reward of our work for all the mitzvahs that we did, and only afterwards we're going to reach the level of the essence of every single Jew. And if we explain a little bit more in depth, we have to separate, to understand a little bit better the concept of what's going to be when Moshiach comes. In general, there are two stages. First stage is called Yemois HaMoshiach, the days of Moshiach. And after Yemois HaMoshiach, it comes Tchias HaMeisim, the resurrection. Right? So in general, what's going to happen in actuality? What's going to happen? What do they look like, these two stages? The first stage is Moshiach. The temple, the third temple comes from heaven. All the Jews will go to Israel, Yerushalayim, and we start keeping all the mitzvahs, right? All the mitzvahs, like they were never kept in the history of humanity. First of all, because the Jews, we cannot keep the mitzvahs without the temple. But even in the times of Shlomo HaMelech, of King Solomon, in the first temple, in the second temple with Ezra and Nehemiah, the Jews, they were never able to keep all the mitzvahs. And that's why the coming of Moshiach is not something, a philosophical thing, a Kabbalistic thing, a Chassidistic thing. It's according to the Jewish law. The main thing, according to the Jewish law, the Rambam, Maimonides, he says that the main thing, what's going to happen was Moshiach. Moshiach is the descendant of King David, David HaMelech. And the Rambam, Maimonides, the Jewish law defines Moshiach as the one, the descendant of King David, that is going to bring back the government of Mashiach, of King David, right? And second here. And okay, I guess it's there. I don't know. Anyways, I have to get one. How good is the battery on that thing? How long does it last, the battery?
On the laptop?
Yeah.
It depends. I use it a lot, so mine's drained pretty fast. But like it.
If you watch videos, YouTube all the time, and you
Yeah, I have to charge it like every day, but like at the end of the day. Sometimes I use it and I don't charge it for like 2 days. It depends.
okay, my laptop is not so good. The battery dies very late after 2 hours, 3 hours already. Huh?
Mine's last like
Maybe
if
you
I
need
wake
new
up
one.
7 and I start.
You need
Yeah.
new one.
It's like
You need
11.
new one.
Yeah.
You need maybe new one.
We do. Be'ezras Hashem. So, but it's okay. Baruch Hashem, we have the phone. The phone has more battery, and we're going to post this video on YouTube afterwards. And maybe you'll help me. You'll put it in Instagram and Snapchat. I don't know what else. Is there. Alrighty. So in general, there are two stages when Mashiach comes. The first stage is called the days of Mashiach, Yemois HaMashiach. The second one is Tchias HaMeisim. So what's going to happen in Yemois HaMashiach? When Mashiach comes, basically what we're going to do is we're going to keep all the mitzvahs like never before in history. In the total way, in the absolute, complete way like never before, right? And as we know, that every day, like we said before originally when we started the class, is that every single time we do a mitzvah, we refine ourselves and we refine the whole world at large. And imagine how much we are refining the whole world right now. But the main thing we need to imagine is how much is going to be the world and ourselves refined when we keep all the mitzvahs. And each mitzvah we're going to keep, not only we're going to keep it the ultimate way. Like you were saying before, we could keep a mitzvah mehudar, we could keep a mitzvah in the cheapest way, God forbid, or we could keep it in the best possible way. When Mashiach comes, every single Jew is going to keep every single mitzvah in the ultimate way. So imagine how much of refinement, how refined we're going to reach. You know what? How to define, how to understand how much of refined we're going to be? Because this stage, because of this refinement, we're going to be able to enjoy Tchias HaMesim. Before we said Tchias HaMesim is the greatest event and miracle in the history of humanity, greater than even the miracles that are going to happen when Mashiach comes. How could it be such a, the level of this? We're going to explain a little bit more what does it mean, this level, and that means that we're going to be able to reach that level of, it's called Oira Sovet, the light of God that surrounds the world. That's going to happen when Mashiach in the resurrection, not necessarily in the first stage of Mashiach. And that level of the light, the energy of God, is so great that the whole universe is going to transform to supernatural. And Tchias HaMesim is a second stage. In the first stage of Mashiach, there are going to happen plenty of miracles, tons of miracles, all the miracles, all the greatest miracles. But still, the world is not going to become. It's going to look like the same world we know a little bit. After the Tchias HaMesim, it's the same world, but the world is going to be so refined that it's going to be like a complete. The human beings are going to be able to do things, to understand things, only that at the level of like an angel, higher than an angel, for example, right? And so basically, the first stage Yemot HaMashiach has to do, the days of Mashiach, the first stage, the first era of Mashiach, it has to do with mitzvahs. We're going to get a reward for the mitzvahs we did. But the second stage, the resurrection, we're going to get the reward. I don't know if it's a reward, but it's going to be revealed the Jew, the essence of a Jew. That is even greater than all the mitzvahs that we did, right? And in general, mitzvahs, like we said before, are greater than Torah. Mitzvahs is the will of God, and the will of God, we could call it in the Kabbalistic terminology, we could call it Or HaSoivev, the light of God that surrounds the universe, the world. And Torah, we could call it Or HaMemale, the light of God that, how you say Memale? That fills up all the worlds. So before we were saying that in Gan Eden, where the souls are up after they pass away on this world, is just spiritual. And the main reward up there is from learning Torah, right? So what does it mean learning Torah? That means that the reward, they reach the level of Or HaMemale, the light of the infinite light of God, but goes inside the world, fills up all the worlds. And that's why it's not as great as the reward we're going to when Mashiach comes, because then we're going to get the reward of mitzvahs. And mitzvahs, we say we connect with the will of God. And the will of God is the light of God, the energy of God that surrounds the world, that is much, much higher than Memale, than the light that fills up the world, right? And after that, let's say we have to make it into 3 levels. Within Tchias HaMesim are also, we're going to subdivide it into 2 eras. You learned this, Ilona, before?
I learned this. I think we did learn this.
Some of the concepts sound familiar, yeah. About
We
the
learned
mitzvahs.
this in the office park.
We did?
I think so. I remember
It could
we
be.
went
This
over
is
it.
the first time that the tzaddikim, like the first stage is like when the tzaddikim are resurrected, and then after it's when the regular people are resurrected.
That's true. That we did learn. I remember that. Yeah, that's, yes, we learned. But that's a different, that's not saying here in...
Maybe we didn't.
So, within Tchias HaMesim, within the era of resurrection, also we could divide it into 2 parts. The first part is going to be the resurrection, but still connected, and that's also why, before you ask, why would have this is called a reward. And the resurrection, it has 2 parts. One part, more than anything else, of a reward, still connected with the reward of mitzvahs that we did. So mitzvahs, we're going to keep all the mitzvahs as soon as Mashiach comes. We're going to go to Yerushalayim and we're going to keep all the mitzvahs. But the reward of that, well, as soon as Mashiach comes right now, we're going to get rewarded. In fact, we already start tasting the reward now. You know that? There is many things are happening in the world that we are tasting. God is giving us a tiny free sample of the world was going to get when Mashiach comes. But Lorraine,
Like what?
huh?
Like what?
The word, like for example, I'll give you an example. Sicknesses,
Sickness.
machalot,
Okay.
chas v'shalom, they are not what it used to be. People, they don't die as much as before. People, they used to die very, very young before. People, they live now in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, people, they live much longer than before. It's a fact. I'm not saying it's not theory and so on.
Is it study?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Google. Let's call it. And besides that, there are less plagues and wars. In the last, after the Second World War, through the whole, for thousands and thousands of years, through the whole history of the world is extremely cruel, very, very cruel. People, they used to die like flies all the time. Most of the people didn't care. The value of a human life, it was not so great. People used to get killed like nothing. The war, it was normal for a war to be killed 1 million people, 500,000 people, until the Second World War. After the Second World War, until today, even right now, what we call a war in Russia and Ukraine, we cannot compare to most of the wars in history. The level of cruelty, the level of this is impossible. Many people, they escape. Most of the wars, people, they were not able to escape. Some people, they did escape, but many people, they died, they were tortured and so on. Anyways, so we're able to test. So when Mashiach will come, the first stage is, first we're going to get a reward from all the mitzvahs we did until now. But what about those mitzvahs that we're going to do when Mashiach comes? We said that that's going to be the ultimate level of mitzvahs, right? So the reward for that, we're going to get in Tchias HaMeisim after that. But that's going to be only the first stage of Tchias HaMeisim, of resurrection. The second stage of resurrection has nothing to do with mitzvahs. It has to do with the essence of every single Jew. The essence of God, every single Jew has the essence of God. The essence of every single Jew is a part of the essence of God. And that is going to be revealed. When that is revealed, then it's going to be a much greater level that even the reward that we get from doing the mitzvahs in Yerushalayim when Mashiach will come. Yes? The pleasure that God is going to derive, in other words, let's call it, everything is God, right? Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, He's everything. So, when God thinks, when God does something, when God gets pleasure, that is basically when everything changes. Because God is everything. If God is happy, then the whole universe, there are no more wars and everything. If God isn't so happy, so when Mashiach comes, God is going to have a certain desire, pleasure. The first pleasure He's going to have is because we learn Torah, and afterwards because we keep mitzvahs. And that's why God, He's going to give us, and He gives us so much reward. But then it's going to be a much higher level of pleasure. The pleasure that God has just for the mere fact that we are Jews. Nothing to do with mitzvahs. This is a very tremendous concept that we need to think. As much as we work hard in trying to keep all the mitzvahs, and the more the merrier, and that's wonderful and great, but there is something greater than that. When we look at the Jews, those Jews that they don't know, they don't keep it for whatever reason, they don't keep mitzvahs. Not only are not tzaddikim, but whatever they cannot do. we need to understand that the ultimate pleasure, even higher than all the 10 mitzvahs, is just the Jew. Just because he's a Jew, because he's a part of the essence of God here on earth. There's a Maaseh with the Mittler Rebbe that someone, a Chosid, had his child, I think he was dying, if I know that. No, the lady was dying, I forgot whom. And the doctor says that she doesn't have too much time. And someone suggested there was a Chosid over there. There were different Hasidim and so on. And the Chosid says, go fast, go to the Rebbe and ask for a bracha, right? And the Rebbe wasn't nearby. He wasn't like there was no WhatsApp and there was no, you were not able to get a bracha. You have to go and come back. Sometimes it took days or sometimes hours or whatever. So the guy says, this lady's going to die. And the doctor just said it's just a matter of, what's the purpose? So when he reached when he finally got to the Mittler Rebbe, and you know what the Mittler Rebbe said? The Mittler Rebbe said, you have no hasag, you have no idea the pleasure that God derives for one Jew even being here one extra every minute that the Jew is here on earth. That means that even if that Jew, God forbid, he cannot do any mitzvahs, he's in a state in coma, God forbid, whatever it is. But just the fact that the Jew, the essence of God, is here inside the physical body, even just that, God derives a tremendous pleasure. Of course, that we don't feel it, we don't understand it, we don't see that. But that's what's going to be revealed, and that is even greater than all the mitzvahs. And that's what's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. Okay, to finish this, let's summarize all of this. The difference also that we could do when people they go up in heaven in Gan Eden, they go higher and higher. Michael el Chayil. They go from one level. People they go to, let's say, the lower Garden of Eden, the world of Yitzir, the world of formation, up above, after they pass away in this world. And then they keep going higher and higher. Like it says, Tzadikim ein lahem menucha. The Tzadikim, they don't have any rest. Right? And they are different. The reason why they go higher and higher, and what does it mean that they don't have any rest? Because it's an effort to go higher and higher. The concept, how to explain it with better what, these two different types of godly energies. The godly light that we call the light that fills up of the world, or a memale, and the other type of light of God, godly energy that we call the light that surrounds the world. Memale means how does God fills up all the world? Because God has to become smaller and smaller and smaller. He filters himself down in order to fill up all the worlds. The worlds are limited. When the world gets a lower world is more limited than the world up above, right? So there are many levels how much God has in order for God to give us a reward and everything. So there are many levels that God has to come down in all the worlds until he gets to this world. And in this world also God gives us pleasure. God gives us, health, Baruch Hashem, and money, and whatever and children and family. So the same thing is up above over there. So the souls, in order to keep going higher and higher, they have to put an effort. And that's why there are two expressions. It says how the souls they go up. One expression is they have to immerse in a mikveh. It's called the river Dinoir. And that has to do with every time that the soul goes up higher and higher, is because the soul has to forget the lower level that was in order to ascend, to go up to the next level. It's an effort. A person has to, in order to, it's a complete different type of level, godly energy. So a person has to completely forget the level before in order to ascend. That's one level of going up. The mikveh in the going toivel in the nar dinar, in the river dinar. to forget the level. The other way of going up, it says, is an omud. It's like an elevator. A person goes up in it's a column. A mud is a column, right? So he goes up, and in that level is the person already starts feeling he becomes completely bottled, nullified to the higher level. That automatically removes all the things that he had before. But the Conde is explaining here how much of an effort the soul has to get in order to go higher and higher. Why is all these efforts? Because we're talking about Oira Memale, the light of God that penetrates, that goes, fills up all the world. As opposed to, that's the reward that they get up there in Gan Eden, the souls. But when Moshiach will come, we're going to get the reward of the mitzvahs, right? And mitzvahs, we said, is Oira Sobev, is the light of God that surrounds all the world. And the light that God surrounds the world is different than the light that fills up the world. In which way? That is one same light. It's not many different levels. And therefore, the souls, they don't have to put an effort into going. While being here in one level, let's say a person didn't achieve a very high lofty level. A person is still going to be able to enjoy a much higher level. Why? Because the Gadol revelation is all one. It's not full with many different levels. It's understood? Yeah? And that's why it's going to be such a tremendous unity among the Jewish nation and the whole universe. Because as long as there is the light in our days, and up above, the light of God that fills up the world, it has many different levels. And that's why there are so many levels. That's why there is not so much unity. When the light of God comes and is when the mitzvahs, and that's the concept of that we said before, connected with we're going to the reward of fulfilling the mitzvahs, and the mitzvahs, we said that every single Jew gives mitzvahs. That unifies all the Jews together, more than the Torah. The Torah, we said there are different levels, according to how much you know, how smart you are. Mitzvahs, every single Jew gives mitzvahs, right? Why is that? Because it's going to be revealed. The light of God, the energy of God that surrounds all the world, that's one. It's not split in different levels. Yeah? But then there is a third level. And that's when the essence of a Jew is going to be revealed. That's the second stage in Tchias HaMesim, in the resurrection. And that is going to be all one. Not only that when we say that in mitzvahs, all the Jews, every single Jew keeps the same mitzvahs, there are still levels. There are no levels, meaning in comparison with the Torah. But mitzvahs, still, they're different. One mitzvah is different than the other. There is a mitzvah of tefillin, on one hand. There is a mitzvah of kosher. There is a mitzvah of mezuzah. So there are different things. The essence of every single Jew is exactly the same in all of us. It's not different. And that's why not only the Oira Sof, the light that surrounds what is going to be revealed, but much higher than that. It's going to be Atzmus, the essence of God. The essence of God is called Tachlis Apshitus, the ultimate simplicity. When you see a simple guy, a simple person doesn't have too many things, topics in himself. He only knows one way. It's just one thing. And that's what the essence of God is. That's something that we need to think about, and we need to also understand as much as we learn. And on one hand, Rabbi Akiva, for example, it says, we call him the father of the Torah. Hillel, Rabbi Akiva was someone that, better than anyone else, was able to bring all the different levels in every single concept in the Torah. That's why Rabbi Akiva was able to understand things that even Moshe Rabbeinu was not able to understand, because he was able to dissect every single concept in the Torah, except even the crowns on top of each letter in the Torah. He was able to dissect, to understand good, right? On one hand, so we have to do that. On the other hand, we need to understand that is not the ultimate level. The ultimate level is when we see a Jew, Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah, every single Jew dances that's equally. Doesn't matter if the smartest one, the one that's not so smart, the religious and non-religious, and that is equally. That is the simplicity. When we see a simple Jew, and by the way, there is a story in Yom Yom we had recently, that one of the rabbis said that even, I think the Alter Rebbe said, that even you, as a great Talmid Chacham, a big rabbi, and so on, you should be able to reach the level of a poshete, of a simple Jew. In other words, usually we think, oh, so we want to learn Torah, we want to understand God. It's true, we have to. But at the same time, we need to understand what is the ultimate level.